Hey there, South Plains. I am joined today by Sharon Bass. She is the Executive Director for the Volunteer Center of Lubbock, and I actually used to work for Sharon a few years ago before I started at United Way, so I'm always pleased to get to have a conversation with Sharon. So we're very excited to talk with you today and talk with Sharon about volunteering and the many different ways volunteering has changed in the last 6 weeks, but the huge need for volunteering that has also arisen in the last couple of weeks. So Sharon, hey, how are you?
Good. It's great to see you, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to see you as well, Sharon. So Sharon, talk to us a little bit about, y'all have thousands of volunteers that are employed that are working with hundreds of agencies across town, and then volunteering completely changed and we got a stay-at-home order, and that just changed the need and changed how volunteering worked, and really changed how a lot of our agencies, our nonprofits, were able to operate. So tell us a little bit about what the last couple of months have looked for you guys.
Well, one of the things I've been hearing myself say is that uh, our mission has not changed. Our purpose in being here, inspiring an engaged community by helping people find purpose and act on it, that's in place, never been more vital. But everything we're doing is to address that is different. Immediately, as soon as everybody could catch their breath, because it was such a shock, and it was such a shock overnight. Things changed overnight for everybody. And once we kind of got our breath, immediately people started reaching out and wanting to help. And what could they do to help? People wanted to volunteer. And what we figured out very quickly is that many people use our volunteer portal on our website at volunteerlubbock.org, because that's you can click on that and find lots of places to volunteer, places that are looking for volunteers. And overnight that changed, because people were going to the website and trying to volunteer only to find that those agencies could not use them in those ways. The things that they had always been doing or for a long time, overnight they couldn't do that anymore. So one of the first things that we did was archive all of those opportunities. They're still there. We think they'll come back at some point in some way. But we didn't want to have people going to volunteer to find out, well, no, I can't do this. And what we did was create a page, kind of a landing page that was specifically oriented to COVID-19 volunteer opportunities. Some FAQs on things to think about if you wanted to be a volunteer, and then began reaching out to our partners to say, how can you use volunteers? Do you have needs? What are you needing? And helping come up with ways that people could safely volunteer with them, and then posting those needs. That's one of the things that changed. Usually our partners do all of that. They didn't have the bandwidth to be managing that. And so our staff is doing that on their behalf. We're going on their Facebook pages, any newsletters they send out, and see what is coming up. And we're posting that on there so that folks can connect. The other thing we changed is that there's a link on there for events, but all of our events got canceled or postponed again overnight. So we made that link an events/resources link, so that we could link specific things that people might need during this time, or that they might want to be connected to. You guys have a great resource, all COVID-19 related. We've tried to have ours be really more based toward what are volunteers looking for, or people that might want to donate specifically to our organizations, our partners, what might they, and so we put those links up there. So we've got needs, we've got resources, and they change every day. We're adding stuff to that every day.
Absolutely, Sharon. I know what it's been to keep up with all of the changes that have been happening so fast. And I know
Yeah.
your team's been working hard with making sure that people were still, because I think that's one of the things that we have need. While we have seen needs rise, we have also seen in our community the desire to help meet those needs from
Right.
individuals and companies and so many others. And really our whole community pulling together in some phenomenal ways. One of the biggest things that you guys do, one of your biggest programs, is youth volunteering. Y'all are in every middle school and high school in our three biggest districts, but also a whole lot of the smaller districts around. And well, school changed. School went
Yeah.
online. So I'm sure that really affected the youth programs and the number of youth volunteers that were out and working. And how have you guys kind of navigated that and kept our youth connected to opportunities?
Well, that's a great question because you're right. They typically do a lot of stuff during the spring, during March, before and especially after spring break, and a lot in April. And they weren't able to do any of that. They weren't in school, they weren't at their campus. And so we're trying to support them, support their sponsors. Some of them still have requirements to do service, but what are they going to do? How are they going to do? So we've been doing a lot of remote access with our student and our young volunteers, helping connect them to some of those things I just mentioned where they can volunteer. But we also created some specific things to them. We've started a Zoom book club that is meeting weekly with some of our youth. They're reading a great book, Pencils of the Purpose. See, what is it? It's Adam Braun's book on the power of a pencil, in his story in creating his what has become a great international nonprofit. But they've been reading that book and having weekly discussions that have been very vibrant and interesting. We've also started some TED Talk conversations with our youth and picked out some, inspirational, leadership-oriented youth development pieces, and have had some very good engagement with that. Again, it's not something we've ever done or ever thought we would do, but it has been meeting a good need. The kids want to do more than it's safe for them to do. So some of it has been encouraging them to know that the best volunteering they can do right now is to be safe themselves and to not be around a bunch of people. And, but I think slowly there are things that are happening. We know that they're doing a lot to help in their neighborhoods. And I don't know. Well, I do know. I know that there's no way we're going to ever be able to document what all people have actually been doing in the last 2 months. They've been doing it informally. They haven't been logging in hours. But shockingly to me, even in light of the last 2 months, them not being able to report anything, we know that 21,000 plus kids in the South Plains have documented over 200,000 hours of service before this stuff ever started, and raised right at $100,000 for to meet needs in their schools and neighborhoods and communities. So again, they're just amazing, what they bring and the hearts they bring to our world.
That's incredible, Sharon. Over 200,000 hours without having the
Yeah,
last 2 months of school.
right.
um,
Exactly.
that's really incredible. And I mean, I think our, our students, but our adult volunteers too. I mean, I've seen that so much in the heart. We know that there's a couple of Facebook groups that I know both of us have kind of been watching and connecting with that have been just meeting those individual neighbor to neighbor needs. And I think that is what, at least as far as we've seen, how a lot of the volunteering has shifted is we're being more neighborly, and we're figuring out what our neighbors need and how to help neighbors. And if we can, we're getting out to our nonprofit service agencies. And I know especially those agencies that work with making sure people have access to food have seen a huge increase and had a huge increase need with their volunteers. At the same time, we need to make sure everybody's safe. So it's a hard situation to deal with. Sharon, if somebody's listened to this and hearing this conversation and they've been thinking, man, I really want to do something, but I don't know what to do, and I don't know what I feel safe doing, and I don't know where to start, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to connect with us, and really the best way is probably through email. My email is sbass@volunteerlubbock.org. Our, kind of in general one is volunteer@volunteerlubbock.org. We check that every day. We're all remote, but that might be the very quickest and best way, and we'll reach out to you. You want to visit via email, or we can set up a phone call or a Zoom call, because we want to talk. And we want everybody that has the space and heart and time to do now to be able to find something to do. I will tell you that one of the things that's been a new thing are our businesses that are connecting with us, saying, we want to keep all of our people busy and employed, but we don't have as much work to do for them. And can we do anything as volunteers? And so we've been able to send businesses to different organizations that usually they wouldn't have time to do, but they're volunteering. So there may be a business that has that same, need, and we'd love to connect with them to connect with some of our organizations.
Well, that's great. I think another way to show just how inventive people are being and making sure that we're caring for everybody, including our own employees, and giving them opportunities to keep working, but also help others at the same time. So Sharon, thanks so much for your time today. We will link to everything that Sharon talked about in the post, so that you can get real easy access to their website and seeing all those opportunities and that email address. But Sharon, thanks so much. We appreciate you being here. South Plains, we're here. Let us know what you need to hear from us. Let us know what you need. We'll get you connected to resources. We'll get you connected to opportunities to help others. So we'll be back with another update soon. Thanks, South Plains.